over the last 6 months, my husband and I ended up starting to go to Broadway because my 19-year-old, who was the little girl that came to us when she was 5, ended up leaving home, and she's also downtown in addiction now because of all her hurt.
I was put into the foster care.
The longest she was in a home before she came to Richard and I was 2 weeks. And
this was from 0 to 5, mind you. Yeah.
Like her first 5 years of life.
Wow.
And then we have 6 kids altogether.
Jesus, we pray that this story will impact thousands of people and just encourage to know you more.
Hi, I'm Michelle Reitzma. I'm back. Last year I did God at Work, if you don't remember. I told my story, and part of my story that we didn't go into was that at that time, God was still working in my life with my daughter, because at the time she was downtown Eastside. And while I was filming, I didn't even know if she was going to survive. But over this last year, God has done tremendous work in my life, my family's life, and especially my daughter. And so today, I'm here to sit with my daughter for her to tell her story.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and I grew up in foster care. I was in 70 homes, but I've moved 102 times. I was mentally, physically, in any way abused until I moved to Vancouver when I was 5. Under some circumstances, though, I had to move back to Ontario, and when I was 6, I got sexually assaulted for 9 months. But I came back here. And then I've been with my family for the rest of the time. And I thought I had dealt with the trauma until about high school. And then things resurfaced and I started drinking. And I didn't think it was that bad until my parents had to come pick me up from the police for being too drunk. And then one night, my dad picked me up. He drove me home, and then I had a drunken meltdown and decided that I knew everything and that I could just leave home. I decided I was going to stop talking to my family. I was downtown Eastside, and I started experimenting with drugs, and that led to why we're here. And then this was in March of 2023, and then within a month of being downtown, I started doing meth. I started messing with people I shouldn't have. I started dating people I shouldn't have, and just being very risky with my life. I didn't care if I woke up the next day. I didn't know what I was gonna eat, nothing. And then I was avoiding my family, and then this one found me downtown. My family begged me to come back home in August, and I did, but nobody knew that I wasn't sober. I was doing drugs still. And then I decided to go back downtown because why be high around my family? So I went back downtown without telling anyone, and then that started up the whole cycle. And then I started doing harder drugs, and I've overdosed more than 100 times. So from September to December, I totally cut out my family because I didn't believe that I was good enough for them.
I really didn't know what was going to happen to Maddie. I knew she was downtown. I knew she was using meth. I know, being a social worker, how many overdoses and deaths there are. Putting Christ first was partly, it was selfish because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this when I get the call that she's died. But I also trusted that God would get me through, and I just needed to trust him and lean on him.
And in this whole span of last year, I felt like God had turned his back on me. But looking back, I really turned my back on him. So in December, I got fed up with being high, not knowing when my next meal was going to be. So I reached out to my mom, and then we had an appointment with Jamal down in CityReach.
And within 2 minutes of praying about where she should go, Life Recovery called us. And Jamal's like, okay, God's answered. He was right, God answered.
My mom doesn't know this, but I went into that meeting high. And then I went into a 3-month recovery treatment place, and I found God again. And then I grew closer to God. We started coming regularly to church. I joined young adults, and I got baptized in May. And my sister was a big part of this because she got baptized last month too. I love Christian music now. I never would have. And I love that Broadway has such an inclusive and younger, group of people, and I love coming here.
The greatest part of all of this has been watching Maddie, for sure, and her faith grow, and watching her put the Lord center in her life, and watching the miracles of how God has worked in her life to get her sober and to get her into treatment. And to see where I was a year ago, fearing that I was going to get the call that I'd have to go identify Maddie, to today watching her thriving and putting Christ first and being involved in the church and looking at possible career options of being a pastor. Watching God work in my whole family's life has been just amazing. Miracles happen today.
I feel like a new person. I feel I want to live every day because I don't know what's going to happen. And in addiction, you know what's going to happen that day. But when you get sober, every day's a new day. I'm so happy. Yeah.